the golden age of aviation. It evokes bravery, heroism, and vintage charm. I mean, that's why we like pilots' watches of or inspired by that era. The Hanhart 417 ES is one such pilot's watch, and I've been wanting one ever since it was reissued a few years ago. But now comes a far less expensive homage to that watch, the IXDAO Peregrine Falcon. Or is it a homage to that watch? We'll get into it. Make sure you stick around to the end when I put it on some straps that will transform this watch, and I give my final verdict. Hey everyone, this is Brian, the Chinese watch guy. I live in China. I love affordable watches, particularly Chinese watches. Today we have the IXDAO Peregrine Falcon to talk about. Before we do, quick wrist check. I'm wearing my Sin U50 Hydro, a birthday gift from my wife. Thanks, wife. Okay, as I said in my unboxing, the watch came with a pretty good box, a significant box, a card wallet with the warranty inside, a signed spring bar tool. It's actually the type with removable tips, and a pretty good travel case. Now, one thing to note, some people have noted online that they did not receive this box and case when they ordered it from AliExpress, and that's probably because it's a bit heavy to send overseas. I ordered this from Taobao in China, so perhaps they were able to send a weightier box and case. So before we go any further, I want to talk about this brand name because it's something I wanted to get off my chest for a while. What is the brand name? Is it IXDAO? Is it 9DAO? Is it DAO? Is it IXDAO? Well, if we look at the branding, IXDAO, here is 9, the number 9 in Chinese, so that corresponds to the IX, the Roman numeral. But what does it actually say? I did not know this character. Although I am the Chinese watch guy, neither me nor my father-in-law could recognize this character. I had to look it up online. That's the nature of Chinese characters. Some of them are really difficult. It's Jiu Chun, which means, get this, 9 foolishnesses. Yeah. So this might be a case where the Chinese name is even more odd than the English name. We know that Chinese brand names can be a bit odd. Yeah, I think we'll need to talk to the brand owner about how he got to that name. All right, let's get into the watch's measurement. Okay, let's talk watch measurements. The watch has a diameter of 39.5 millimeters. It has a thickness of about 12.2 millimeters. Lug to lug is about 47.5 millimeters. Lug width is 20 millimeters. That pronounced onion crown is a bit hard to measure, but it measures about 3.4 millimeters. And it's about 7 millimeters thick. That fluted bezel is a bit hard to measure, but I estimate about 3.5 millimeters. Quite nice and thick as well. And let's try that bezel. It is quite firm. I've heard some people call that stiff, but it does give a feeling of quality. I quite like it, and I do think that simple bezel can be useful. Without further ado, let's take it outside and put it on the wrist. So here we have it, looking quite good actually, but it's quite a modern look, isn't it? Perhaps not quite the vintage vibe you're going for if you're going for this kind of homage. See the AR coating doing quite a good job. Alright, let's talk about the watch's measurements. So as we said, the Falcon is 39.5 millimeters in diameter, 12.2 millimeters thick, and 47.5 lug to lug. This hits a sweet spot that should fit most wrists. It fits my 6.5 inch wrist. It should fit most wrists. These specs make it pretty similar to the 417 ES, although it is even thinner, which is nice. However, notice that the 417 uses syringe hands, not cathedral hands, and that it has that red pusher at 2 o'clock. Now, if you compare it to another Hanhart chronograph, the Pioneer, that's 40 millimeters in diameter It's a thick boy at 15 millimeters, and it's quite long at 49 millimeters. However, what do you notice? Yes, the cathedral hands, it looks like this is where the cathedral hands come from, as well as the red pusher, which has a whole legendary story behind it, apparently about how a pilot's wife painted her husband's chronograph pusher red as a reminder to always come home. And this always kind of still stuck as a reminder of which pusher to push. Furthermore, you might notice that the Falcon has the thicker, classic fluted bezel of the 417ES, and not that slightly thinner bezel of the Pioneer. So overall, I think it's borrowed some of the most distinctive elements of both watches. So good job, IXDAO. Okay, let's talk about the case and strap in more detail. We can see the sides feature pretty good horizontal brushing. Perhaps not as clean as a San Martin, but there are pretty good transitions from brushed to polished surfaces. We see that is a slightly boxed sapphire crystal, offering a bit of distortion at the edges. The crown is that signed onion crown with the IXDAO logo on it. Of course, we have the red pusher at 2 o'clock. The case back is screw-down case back, offering 100 meters of water resistance. There is that engraved Peregrine Falcon screaming at you. The case back is smooth enough. In fact, there are no real rough edges on the watch. The strap is that FKM rubber strap, comfortable enough. Again, not quite my style because this is supposed to be a vintage watch, but with those quick release spring bars, it'd be easy to change straps, which I'll show you later. We see raised lume numerals, all except 3 and 9. At 6 o'clock, you see that check altitude slogan. Apparently that is pilot's jargon. Some people don't like this. I don't really mind it, especially that since it's about perhaps a millimeter or less, and I don't really notice it. The movement is a Seiko VK64 Mecha Quartz movement. Let's try the movement. Good tactile start and stop and quick snap back to 12. I like this movement. The only thing about this movement is that it does feature a 24-hour subdial at 3, and some people think that's kind of useless, but again, that doesn't really bother me. So the hands are cathedral hands, and in conjunction with that onion crown, I think it gives a nice vintage look. If I had to be critical, I think those hands are a bit too bold compared to the numerals, offering a bit of mismatch. Other colorways offer metallic cathedral hands, which give a classy look, but I guess we went with that black outline to give legibility here. Alright, so let's see this on some different straps. And here are some straps that I think transform this watch. This is a vintage styled pilot's bracelet, the bond clip, a style from the last century, but I think it quite suits this watch. And here we have the watch, I think, in its final form on an old school German style strap, the Bund. I think this really suits the character of this watch. The only downfall is that it is a heavy strap and it's not going to suit hot weather. It's not going to suit the summers too well. So you see I have this watch on the bond clip for the summer. Okay, so let's sum up some of the negatives of this watch and let me give you my final verdict. As I've said, the included rubber strap, despite those double rivets, doesn't quite hit that vintage look, that vintage vibe, but with the quick release spring bars, that is easily changeable. That check altitude text on the dial might bother some, it doesn't bother me, and I could say the same about that 24-hour subdial. Then there is that black outline on the cathedral hands, which is a bit too thick, doesn't quite match the Arabic numerals. However, this is only for the Panda dial. Final verdict, if you want a vintage styled German pilot's chronograph, get the Hanhart 417. If you want to save a few $1,000s, get the IXDAO Peregrine Falcon. I think they've done a good job of combining some distinctive elements of the 417 and the Pioneer, actually. I'll leave a link in the description to this video. Alright, so if you want more news and previews of upcoming watches, this is Brian in China. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. I'm excited because I have a new San Martin coming in, the SN0148, one of the big releases from San Martin this year. Alright, I'll see you next time. Enjoy your watches, everyone.